I tried combining the letters of the alphabet in every possible way. This gave me some 100 names, but none of them felt quite right. One morning, while riding on the upper deck of a horse-drawn omnibus along Cheapside in the city of London, a genie whispered Rolex in my ear. The most famous luxury watch brand, Rolex, was thus named. Rolex watches are famous because they are a symbol of luxury, status, and wealth. Celebrities, politicians, and business people have worn them for decades, and the world can easily recognize their famous design. It all began in the early 20th century when a visionary named Hans Wilsdorf and his brother-in-law Alfred Davis founded a small watch company in London. Little did they know, this venture would eventually revolutionize the world of horology. The early 1900s saw men start wearing watches on their wrists, rather than in their pockets, and it soon became apparent that these new watches would have far harder lifetimes. The majority of the time, pocket watches were protected from moisture and precipitation, the hustle and bustle of dusty streets, and the knocks that come with an active lifestyle by being worn inside garments. Just a smaller replica of its larger alter ego, the more delicate and less accurate wristwatch was widely perceived as a delicate piece of women's fashion. The founder of Rolex was aware of these disadvantages, pointing out that men at the time thought the wristwatches to be somewhat of a laughingstock. However, Hans Wilsdorf, a young man with a business sense, believed that they were ideal for the fast-paced 20th century lifestyle and the rise of athletics as a recreational activity. He gambled on the wristwatch, staking his budding London firm, which he had launched in 1905, on its success. In an effort to make it better, he invented the waterproof watch and created creative marketing efforts to promote this new feature. Alfred Davis and his brother-in-law, Hans Wilsdorf, founded Wilsdorf and Davis in 1905 in London. This company eventually evolved into Rolex SA. Their primary business activity at the time involved importing Swiss movements by Hermann Eigler and placing them in watch cases produced by Denison and other manufacturers. These early wristwatches were distributed to various jewelers, who then added their own brand names to the watch dials. Typically, the earliest timepieces from Wilsdorf and Davis were marked with W&D on the inside of the caseback. In 1908, Hans Wilsdorf officially registered the trademark Rolex, which would later become the brand name associated with watches produced by Wilsdorf and Davis. He established an office in La Chaux-de-Fonds, Switzerland. Wilsdorf was particular about the brand name, desiring it to be easily pronounceable in any language and short enough to fit on the watch face. He believed that the name Rolex had an onomatopoeic quality, resembling the sound of a watch being wound. During World War I, Rolex began manufacturing trench watches. In November 1915, the company changed its name to Rolex Watch Company Limited. In 1919, Hans Wilsdorf relocated the company from England to Geneva, Switzerland. This move was prompted by heavy post-war taxes on luxury imports and high export duties imposed on the silver and gold used for the watch cases. The company's name was officially changed to Montres Rolex SA in 1919, and later, in 1920, to Rolex SA. With administrative matters addressed, Wilsdorf directed the company's attention to a significant marketing challenge, preventing dust and moisture from infiltrating under the watch dial and crown, which could damage the movement. To tackle this issue, in 1926, Rolex collaborated with a third-party casemaker to create a waterproof and dust-proof wristwatch, which was named the Oyster. The original patent allowing the watch to be adjusted while maintaining protection from water ingress was attributed to Paul Perregaux and Georges Perret. Rolex purchased this patent, which was not developed in-house, and extensively promoted it. The Oyster watch featured a hermetically sealed case that provided exceptional protection for the movement. As a demonstration of the Oyster's waterproof capabilities, Rolex submerged Oyster models in aquariums, prominently displaying them in the windows of their main retail locations. In 1927, British swimmer Mercedes Gleitz swam the English Channel wearing an oyster on her necklace, becoming the first Rolex ambassador. In celebration of this achievement, Rolex published a full-page advertisement on the front page of the Daily Mail for every issue throughout an entire month, proudly proclaiming the watch's success during her 10-hour-plus swim. In 1931, Rolex obtained a patent for a self-winding mechanism known as the perpetual rotor. This innovation featured a semicircular plate that relied on gravity to move freely, allowing the watch to wind itself. Subsequently, the Oyster watch line was rebranded as the Oyster Perpetual. In 1933, the first expedition to fly over Mount Everest was equipped with Rolex Oysters. The members of the crew were highly satisfied with the performance of the watches. In the 1930s, Rolex and one of the fastest drivers in the world, Sir Malcolm Campbell, became united by the quest for speed. On 4 September 1935, at the wheel of Bluebird, and wearing a Rolex watch, this king of speed set a land speed record of over 300 miles per hour, approximately 485 kilometers per hour, at Bonneville Salt Flats in Utah. Sir Malcolm broke the world speed record 9 times between 1934 and 1935, including 5 times at Daytona Beach in Florida. Rolex saw an excellent chance to evaluate, improve, and demonstrate the Oyster's technical performance in various settings. The realms of athletics, aviation, auto racing, and travel served as real-world testing grounds for the timepiece's numerous technical features. The date chest, the first self-winding wrist chronometer with a date window on the dial, was created in 1945. With its fluted bezel and custom-made Jubilee band, the date chest was an extremely distinguished watch that was instantly identifiable as a Rolex. It serves as the collection's cornerstone, Oyster Perpetual. Launched in 1953 to celebrate the historic ascent of Everest, the explorer quickly became iconic, inspired by the knowledge gathered from this unique chapter of human endeavor. In later years, Rolex added more watches to its illustrious collections. Since its inception to the present day, Rolex has continued to expand and uphold its status as one of the world's most luxurious brands. Following the passing of his wife in 1944, Hans Wilsdorf established the Hans Wilsdorf Foundation, a private trust in which he placed all his Rolex shares. This ensured that a portion of the company's earnings would be allocated to charitable causes. Hans Wilsdorf passed away in 1960, and since then, the trust has owned and operated by Rolex SA. Rolex is actually a non-profit charity trust and donates 90% of his profits every year. Why would they do that? Well, by donating to charity, Rolex receives major tax benefits. And there you have it, the exhilarating saga of Rolex, a legacy carved in time. From humble beginnings to global prominence, Rolex has not just marked moments, but defined generations. As we conclude, remember that the story of Rolex continues, with every tick representing a moment of enduring elegance. Thank you for joining us on this extraordinary adventure. Stay inspired, stay timeless. We hope you enjoyed this thrilling ride through the history of horological excellence. Subscribe to the channel for more interesting videos. Thank you.